kicking and screaming, but they dragged me, right? And eventually, I got tired of getting dragged and I started walking. You know, little kid. And then eventually you start walking, right? And then it becomes relevant. So because I trust it, now it's authentic, and I see you focusing on the things I don't see within myself, now it becomes relevant to me, so now I understand the why. This is why I should use your services, right? And as I line up in all of these, now I become your marketer. Because when I transition and start to see the benefits, I start to advocate your services in the community. Word of mouth is the most effective marketing. Even with the military, right? One of the biggest challenges they have right now is recruitment. A big reason that is because a lot of people who have somewhat forms of success in the military, they don't usually transition back where they come from sometimes. Before other people who didn't have a good experience go back and talk about all the bad. So it creates this impression, right? I never knew I could be a pilot. When I talked to recruiters back then, I just thought it was infantry. It's like, I got a 92 on the ASVAB. I was like, infantry? It was like, the recruiter was honest, he was like, no. Why? That's all I know, infantry. That's all I've seen in the movies. That's all I've heard about. I got uncles that were in Vietnam. I just know, right? But it was like, no, the Army will pay you a whole lot of other stuff, or a whole lot of money to do something else, right? But that's a different story for a different time. But it's just, I didn't know. And a lot of times, it's because that's all I've heard. So when you create services that are actually making an impact, you get community leaders who are gatekeepers to the community who start to give you access and to advocate on your behalf. That's a key component people overlook because this works for all stakeholders. Community gatekeepers are stakeholders. Community gatekeepers are stakeholders. So you gotta identify in your region, in your area, who are those community gatekeepers, right? It could be churches, it could be gang leaders, it could be people who are in positions like yours who are still connected to the community. It all comes back down to people. There's somebody that holds a power of influence in that area that you need to access, you don't realize, right? Usually it's only used when they're trying to keep it moving. All right, so a social model that lasts, right? So something else I came up with was this. I had created something. I was doing like a program I had called Social Transitions Program because prior to COVID, I had developed a virtual internship program. Because I heard the needs of a lot of community members. I heard a lot of different needs, and this is before everyone went digital, right? And it works. It works because of what it says. Like, so the whole thing is it just stands for successfully overcoming challenges through interactive and applied leadership, right? So there's 3 points that make this work. These are the 3 points. 1, everyone is a leader. The key is a good leader knows how to follow. 2, everyone is a stakeholder, and stakeholders must be at the table. If you're making decisions about a group of people, they have to be at the table. Whether that's who receives your services, whether that's somebody else you're collaborating with, or whatever else you're doing, you have to understand that they are stakeholders and they have to be present for that conversation, right? And then opportunities must be given and gatekeepers must remove the barriers. So gatekeepers within the areas you're providing services have to remove the barriers to give you access, right? We saw it in the Middle East. When we transitioned from the actual combat aspect and we started going to that coin out, the easy way I can explain that is like more so like community-based, like trying to support what was going on. You had to have people that were giving you access and kind of advocating on your presence, right? It's the same thing in our communities here. It happens in meetings. When there's grant cycles coming up, does anyone know anyone who would be a good fit for this grant? If they're asking you that and you're a gatekeeper, you don't even realize it. Because you can say the right name of the right organization that opens up a door and facilitates a connection. So if all you know is your same 3 people, and you're wondering why nothing has changed in 10 years because you keep giving the same 3 people you know access to those grants and those fundings, I mean, I gotta do a little homework, expand your horizon, right? And the same thing that comes with employment, giving the opportunities. So the biggest thing that led to this aspect of the social model is because what they were trying to have, or what they wanted me to do with the youth engagement is they were trying to develop what was known as I guess young adult partners. Has anybody heard about that? So the challenge with, I won't get into the weeds of it, but the thing is, if you're gonna have young adult partners, you have to see them as a partner. It can't just be a title, you gotta see them as a partner. And give them challenges or give them leadership opportunities, right? Leadership opportunities. But the key with that is they gotta know how to follow, and at the same time, they gotta know how to lead themselves, right? Everyone in here is a leader, but you can't lead anyone else if you can't lead yourself. That means you have principles, morals, character, everything is principles and things that you stand on, so you become unmovable or unwaverable when you're doing this kind of work, right? Now you're not influenced by grant cycles or amounts of money and different things like that. You're not influenced by those buddy systems where I've known you for this. I was like, we're cool, but the collective impact in 5 years from now, what am I trying to see? Like, as cool as we are, you might not be a good fit, and because I stand on principles, I can move past that, if that makes sense. And all this cultivates collaborations, but asterisks there because it's important. All right. All of this happens with communication that breaks barriers. All right. So the communication that breaks barriers, this is how you do it. Immediate changes that need to occur for this to happen is when you got to identify those barriers. What are those barriers that you've seen time and time again, right? I was with UNCG in 2018 when Medicaid transformation conversations were surfacing. You're talking about 4 years, 3, 4, 5 years before it finally got kicked into effect. And I guarantee you those same conversations I was holding up then are the ones I were holding up until recently. So it comes to you and me and other individuals in these seats that as you're listening to these conversations, you gotta listen. Because there's always a common thread when people are talking. What is the common thread, that silver lining, golden thread if you wanna say it? Like what is that commonality that you hear being expressed between everyone at that table? Because that's the point of agreement that you guys can meet on to make things happen. But if you're not listening to each other, it's not gonna happen. So you gotta identify the barriers, right? You gotta eliminate the jargon and understand that words have meaning. Just be direct, be plain, be clear. When you have clear communication, it cultivates trust. You start using jargon, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea, right? I just don't know. And if I don't know, who else doesn't know? So now we're having conversations and we're thinking we're saying the same thing and we're not. It happens to me and my wife all the time. We have a whole conversation. A week later, we're having a disagreement, and it all traces back to a previous conversation. I said, so wait, what you mean to tell me is we were talking, and we were both nodding our heads, smiling like, yeah, okay. But we're saying two completely different things. We're using the same words and everything, but we're having a completely different conversation and don't even realize it. So understand that words have meaning. Clarify those words. Acronyms, military has acronyms, health services have acronyms. There's acronyms for everything. ABC means one thing in your organization, it means ABC in yours. Like, ABC is not the same thing for everybody. So what does that actually mean? All right? Understanding that misunderstandings have to be rectified as priority. Most of the disagreements and arguments and situations that happen in life all come back to a misunderstanding. There was a miscommunication somewhere. So we start to engage some friction. Let's pause. Let's rewind and back it up a little bit, and let's understand where was the point of miscommunication that led to this misunderstanding? Because if we fix that, then we can clear up what needs to be clarified and move forward. And this is extremely important when you're talking about collaboration.